Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Cameras and Coffee. Before we jump in today, if you're a fan of this channel, you're probably familiar with, what is this typing? You're probably familiar with 20th Century Camera. 20th Century Camera is run out of Washington State. I'm blanking on Jeff's last name, but you may know that what they do is Jeff will refurbish and repair old Graflex SLRs specifically, and has a bunch of equipment to allow him to do things like make new shutter curtains and things like that, if I recall. And he had a fire at the end of February. It wasn't his fault. I believe it started in his neighbor's yard, and as fires do, it jumped into his property and burned out the 20th Century Camera shed. So lost tons of cameras, tons of lenses, his laser cutter, a bunch of really rare equipment. He has a Venmo QR code on his Instagram if you would like to check that out. I'll put a link to that in the video description. So yeah, he has had a turn of bad luck in that, and I wanted to make sure you guys knew about that and that there is an opportunity to help if you've got the interest and ability to do that. Now, without further ado, let's jump into today's topic and talk about what is going on with Fuji. Steinbeck certainly wants to know. Okay, real quickly, today's coffee is from Misha's Coffee. I believe Misha's is in Alexandria, Virginia, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I did. And it is the Nicaragua. It's this is a good coffee. Actually, everything I've tried from Misha's has been pretty good. All right, Steinbeck? No, Steinbeck doesn't like coffee. Okay. So I found this on Cosmo Photo. I'm going to drop a link to that in the description. I'm also going to drop a link to the original Fuji announcement. So Cosmo Photo relays what is an incredibly choppy translation of a Fuji announcement. Regarding color negative film 135 size and reversal film 135 and 120 size, it is difficult to supply sufficient products due to a shortage of raw materials. So we will stop accepting domestic orders from today. I will pause. We sincerely apologize for any inconvenience caused to our customers. Go up to the original announcement and do translate through Google Chrome or something like that, and it will give you the exact same translation. This is a bit confusing, so I took the original text, I dropped it into Google Translate, and I started deleting words and phrases out of the original until I got a better translation. So, let's see. For those of you who speak Japanese, this better translation I was able to get starts with the phrase Hanjitsu yori kokune ni okeru. Okay, and so if we delete everything before that, the better translation that we get out of Google Translate is, from today we will temporarily stop accepting orders in Japan. We sincerely apologize for any inconvenience caused to our customers. We will inform you again on our website about when we will resume accepting orders. So the affected films are for the Japan market. In 135 color negative, they are temporarily pausing Fuji Color 100, Fuji Color Superia Premium 400, and Fuji Color Superia Extra 400. Interestingly, if you go up to B&H and look at their website for Fuji Color 100 and Fuji Color Superia Extra, which I did yesterday, they were both marked as discontinued in the US. Very curious. I'm not sure if this is related or not. For reversal films in 135 and 120, the same films are being paused, and those are Velvia 50, Velvia 100, and Provia 100. So what does this mean? Well, as the better translation indicates, we can assume that this is only for the domestic market. It would have been good if Fuji, being an international company, knowing that this is a global economy and that the entire film industry would probably glom onto this announcement, had, I don't know, gotten a better translation internally so they could control the message, but they didn't do that, so we're going to go with what we have, which is that this appears to be just affecting the domestic Fujifilm market, which is weird. Why is it that it's only affecting the domestic market? So I've heard rumors for the last year-ish from different people. I've never been able to verify any of them, and I know for certain that this is dealing with proprietary information, so I wouldn't be able to directly verify it, proprietary business information. But I've heard from a handful of different people that Fujifilm outside of Japan, this is in the US and the European market primarily, is actually made by Kodak. I don't know if that's true. And so I've not talked about it on this channel before because I can't verify that. Fujifilm pausing production only in Japan and not what would seem like a much larger market, which is everything outside of Japan, would lend credence to that rumor but not confirm it. So what we're going to deal with is what we have, that they're pausing production for Japan due to raw material shortages. So what does that mean? Well, there's a few different possibilities. The raw materials, well, we know from Ilford that a big part of what Ilford does for research is finding ways to reformulate their emulsions as things like environmental laws change and different compounds become illegal to use or import in the way that they had been. And so Ilford has to go and find new ways to formulate their emulsions so that they perform in the same way or a consistent way to what their customers expect. Remember, here when I saw a recording of a lecture or presentation given by one of the Ilford research execs, I think it was, mentioning that, I found that absolutely fascinating. It's always stuck with me. And so what that tells us is that film emulsion development is, of course, not static, that it changes as the marketplace of materials availability over the years changes. And it's also fascinating that different compounds can replace ones that are no longer accessible to perform in a similar manner. Okay, so we don't know what raw materials Fuji's talking about that they're having trouble getting. And it's a distinct possibility it could just be supply chain issues in short term. It could also be because of the sanctions on Russia. Russia is a huge country and has a large mining and materials production base. And with the sanctions, because of their invasion of Ukraine, a lot of the materials that have traditionally come out of Russia have not. As a really simple example, we ordered a new pot and pan set last year, and a little bit more, just over a year ago, and it took 6 months for it to arrive, which was 5 months and 3 weeks longer than it was supposed to arrive, because one of the titanium that was used in those pans for a very tiny amount of those pans couldn't be obtained because there wasn't enough of a supply because the Russian market had been cut off. So at any rate, we finally did get those, and it just was a matter of there were fewer materials to go around. It took longer for them to get enough titanium to do the production runs. So my best guess is that there is some sort of similar issue with raw materials, whether it's something that's due to sanctions or whatever. It's impossible to say because they don't tell us what raw materials they're having trouble getting or why. Is it because of environmental regulations, which would be more than a short-term disruption, for instance. Different raw materials go into film production throughout, whether it's something that goes into the plastic base or whether it's some of the sensitizing dyes that go on into the different emulsion layers to help sensitize the silver halide to different amounts and wavelengths of light, or whether it has to do with the accelerators that go into color film, which are used so that all C4 and all E6 can be developed for the same amount of time in the same process, whether they're 50 ISO, whatever the slowest is, to whatever the fastest is. 100 ISO C41 is developed right next to 800 ISO for the exact same amount of time and the exact same amount of chemistry, because the emulsions have different types of and amounts of accelerators in them that accelerate the development differently so that they can all be done in the same bath for the same amount of time. So my guess is that it either has to do with sensitizing dye or accelerator compounds, because those are more chemical based. Everything's chemical based, but those are things that I understand, and someone will correct me if I'm wrong, tend to be the things that can be hardest to obtain. So it could also, of course, just straight up be silver. My sincere hope is that this is a temporary disruption. That what will happen is that Fuji will get through this, they'll find a new supply source, or they'll do a reformulation, and then they'll be able to get back to production. My sincere fear is that this is the end of Fuji, and I think a lot of people share that fear. And I don't know that it's founded, but where that fear comes from is that if Fuji stops making color film, Kodak has a monopoly. And Kodak, we need you not to have a monopoly. We do. The film industry needs Kodak not to have a monopoly on color film production. And we need that so that we can continue getting innovation, to keep prices down, and to give consumers more options. Yes, Orwo makes a color film. It is incredibly hard to come by. I've been trying to get my hands on some. It is always sold out. So there is another option, but it's not convenient or easy. So if this, I do hope this is not the end of Fujifilm. I do, because I do like 400H and their reversal films quite a bit. But at the same time, if it is the end of Fujifilm, were I in charge of Fuji's film production line or business, whatever it is, I would be doing everything I could to sell that equipment to somebody who's not Kodak. ADOX or FOMA, Ilford, I don't know, pick a company. Any company out there that would be interested in making color film that's not Fuji, I would be on the horn with them trying to get them to buy my gear for a reasonable price and then license out the Fuji stocks to them, which has precedent as the Acros 2 packaging says made in UK. So at any rate, I know there are a lot of, I've heard from people that they are afraid this is the end of Fuji. I don't share, I understand that fear and I have it, but I don't share it because I suspect that there are people invested enough in ensuring that the brand lives on, even if it's not produced, that some solution will be found to keep Fuji alive as a color film alternative. And quite honestly, having a color film being produced by a company that's not Fuji, that is more invested as a percentage of their business in film production, would probably be good long term for the film industry and color film innovation and development in general. So the long and short of this is, I don't think this is the end of Fujifilm. I don't think this is a catastrophe that they've paused domestic film. And I do think that there are many different opportunities and options that are on the path forward that make this a good result for the film industry and film shooters. So thank you everybody for watching, and we'll be back again. Yes, Steinbeck, we'll be back again in another one now that I can talk again, now that I have a voice again. I know, it's so exciting. Anyway, talk to you guys soon. Have a good day.